Hello everyone. Let me just check everything's working before I start talking. Just check the chat there. Who have we got in? Right guys, I am doing this one in my car again tonight, so I'm not sure if the signal will be amazing, but it should be alright. It seems to be doing okay. The weather's nice and calm. I've got no rain in the way or anything. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be good. It says it's strong right now. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you can hear me and everything's loud and clear, and then we'll crack on. I'm doing something a bit different with my microphone today. Normally, I let the internal software on the MacBook use voice isolation on the microphone automatically, but today I'm just going to let it go on standard mode instead and see if this sounds better or worse. I'm not sure how it will sound, but you guys just let me know in the chat if it sounds all good. Right, so checking the chat, we've got ears to hear, eyes to see. Thanks for being here. We got Selena, thanks for being here. Didn't know I signed up for alerts with this channel, but let's go. Okay, AI Mac. Well, I hope you enjoy it. This is just a laid-back chat that we're doing here. I like to do these quite often. I usually do a weekly live show every Sunday called the Truth or Therapy Sessions, but I have been pretty much booked up every Sunday now for the past month and for the next coming month. So I've not done a Truth or Therapy session in a couple of weeks now. But every now and then I just like to check in with a bit of a live show, just to have a bit of a stream of consciousness. I like to talk, I like to get things off my mind, and a few crazy people seem to like to listen to me talk, so I hope you enjoy it. I've got a few random little things I want to bring up today that have been on my mind, a few little announcements. Some ideas I've been mulling around for future videos, which I want to run past you guys. But I'm also game for you guys just to ask me anything that's on your mind. Anything you've been thinking about, any theories or topics or ideas that you just cannot let go right now and just need to talk about with somebody. Talk about it with me. I'll give you my opinion and ideas. I'm not saying I'll agree necessarily or that I could offer anything extra, but I'll have a good go at it. I'll see what I can do for you. But yeah, these are just a bit of a therapy session for you guys and for me, because we all know when you learn this type of stuff, you just need to talk to somebody about it sometimes, and I get that, and it's not easier said than done in the real waking world, isn't it? With your friends and family, they just don't want to hear it. So we have to find our own forums and our own platforms, and I do like to do these live shows for that reason more than anything. So yeah, thanks for being here. Susan, great to see you. Brian, thanks for being here. Ears to Hear says, amazing talk with Gary Wayne recently. Thanks. Yeah, it was a great chat. I've been looking forward to that for months. I booked Gary about 2 to 3 months ago, and it crept up pretty quick. I already talked to Gary once in 2016, I think it was, maybe early 17. I can't remember. I've dated the chat. That's when I first talked to Gary Wayne. It was a while ago. We're talking like 6 or 7 years ago, aren't we? But I managed to reconnect with him on Facebook, and I arranged to talk with him. Managed to book him in on his extremely busy schedule, and he was gracious enough to come and talk with me, which was really nice. And yeah, I think we had a nice conversation. I hadn't scripted anything, really. I kind of knew what I wanted to talk with him about, roughly. You guys had asked me a few questions you wanted me to ask him as well in the pre-show. I did a little live show before I talked to him. So I managed to ask him about the rise of Hermeticism and where that comes from. Ask him about the Vedic histories as well, and the Hindu religion and where it fits into the antediluvian stories. So I managed to get those extra questions in for people who requested it. So it was good that he answered those for me as well. But yeah, it was a good talk. I hope to get him back eventually. I think I've built a nice rapport with him over the years. He seemed happy to be talking with me again, which is good, and I was definitely happy to be talking with him too. And yeah, it was a good conversation. I feel like I learned a lot myself talking with him. I really like the things he went on about the Oiketerion, which is like an avatar body that spiritual beings can create for themselves in order to manifest into the physical world. And it's actually biblically grounded. I can't remember the passages right now, but there's 2 passages where they talk about Oiketarians. I think one of them's in Peter and another in Isaiah. I'm not sure. Obviously, the English translation is body or something like that, but the actual word is Oiketarian. So it is biblically grounded. It's, and I just found it really interesting. I never heard of that before. And another great theory, well, not theory, but idea he kind of brought across is that a weird, trippy way Nephilim works that I never thought about. But it was this idea that the Nephilim did everything they could while alive to try and get to their safe place, which is kind of like their heaven or their paradise or their underworld or something. And it seems like all the Nephilim had their own version of this. And it wasn't heaven like in a biblical sense or anything, or like Eden or something. It was like Valhalla or Hades or the underworld, They had these places, these pocket dimensions, which they strived to get to so they could live comfortably there. Probably maybe knowing that their fate was coming. And he mentioned that if they got beheaded before that time, they were stuck on Earth, basically. And you had to kill a Nephilim by removing the head. And that's why it's just non-stop stories of giants having their heads removed. And because they had the extremely quick ability to heal, basically. And, a simple stab here, there, and a cut there wouldn't do it, You had to physically remove the head from the body to ensure that they stayed down. And he was basically saying, like, if that had happened before they got a chance to make their way to their little pocket dimension where their spirit can live comfortably forever and come back whenever they want, let's say after the flood, if they got beheaded before that time, then they didn't get to come back. They basically got trapped on Earth in spirit form and became the demons. And I'd never heard of that theory and that idea, but that was fascinating. And it answers a lot of questions about the stories of why all these monsters always got beheaded. What was the point of all of that? And it alludes to that idea, doesn't it? The whole modern zombie mythos that you've got to shoot them in the head if you want to take down the zombie type of thing. And if you don't, then they're going to keep coming. I thought that was fascinating. But yeah, good talk with Gary. I enjoyed that, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it as well. It seems to have really popped off. People seem to really enjoy that talk. I think it's got about 5,000 views in 2 days, which is good going for my channel, to be honest. I know it's relatively a small, modest amount, but I'm proud of that. And it seems to keep spreading the word, which is great. So I'm happy with that. If you guys want to like and share that video even more, I would appreciate it. But I think it's a great introductory, more of an advanced intermediate level talk. Maybe not introductory. But I think it's definitely something for people who have been doing this for a while. It just adds a little bit of extra to the whole Nephilim story. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a good talk. Let's see what else we got going on. Who else has joined us? I've got a Peachy Flamingo. Thanks for being here. Watched the Gary Wayne show this morning. Excellent. Is the sound's okay, guys? People are telling me the sound is fine. Thanks, Humble. Thanks for being here, V More as well. It's 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Arizona here. You know what? I'm so ignorant of the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Is that a lot? I have no idea. I have no idea if 100 degrees Fahrenheit is high or low, to be honest. I'm a Celsius guy. What can I say? I'm European. Yes, we crazy people do like it. That's right, Maurice. You know what I'm saying. I'm seeing a lot of trans Indians in the pics. We're not getting political, are we? I don't know what you're talking about there. No, this isn't a political channel. I don't do that. Why is the Hat Man all black and not all colourful? Well, this is the thing. I mean, most people who encounter the Hat Man do see a shadowy, dark figure more commonly, but I don't believe that's his true form. My Hat Man encounter was extremely psychedelic and colourful. He wore a purple type of clothing, to call it anything, a purple trench coat, purple hat. His skin was black, as shadowy as it could be, I suppose. His eyes glowed yellow. He had a multicoloured coloured ribbons of white and multicolours just beaming from the back of him, kind of like a Morris dancer would or something like that. So my experience of the Hat Man was extremely psychedelic and colourful. but I do think he manifests in shadow form when he appears in the physical realm. But if you encounter him in the spiritual realm, he won't necessarily be a shadow entity. It's what I'm kind of piecing together about the Hat Man. I mean, I might as well get straight into it. You know, I've been getting deep into the Hat Man in a few videos recently. Obviously, I had a channel called Cryptid Candy on mine. And he's a really nice guy, new channel, got a lot of success very quickly. His videos have shot through the roof in terms of views, and his subscribers have just come to him rapidly because he made some great exposés on Benadryl and people who abuse it in order to get in contact with the Hat Man in this ethereal realm called Ariel. And there's like a whole underground online subculture dedicated to taking the hay fever tablets in extremely copious amounts. Like, we're talking like just like 4,000 milligrams worth, like 27 to 50 pills, you know, at once, just to reach this state of delirium where they've completely detached themselves from reality. And then once they get there and get that far and get utterly, basically turn themselves mentally insane, they end up encountering the Hat Man, and some weirdo has created a religion out of it, basically. So he made this great video breaking it all down, and I managed to interview the guy. And we were just talking about the Hat Man, you know, and he gave me a lot of insights about how this weird creature operates, basically. And I didn't realise he was operating on such an overt level right now, out in the open, encouraging people to take, you know, hay fever tablets of all things in order to get in touch with him. And that's just a crazy story and fascinating. So I had a great talk with Cryptid Candy. He's currently off doing his own thing right now, investigating the cult online, trying to get his way in there and interviewing some of the members. So that's fascinating. So I can't wait to see what he comes up with. But off the back of that, you know, the next day I had booked an interview with an author called Heidi Hollis, who wrote basically the first book on the Hat Man, discussing him as a shadow entity and a thing people experience, you know. And I got this book years ago, straight after my first experience with the Hat Man, you know, my own experience in 2014 time. I think she published the book in 2015 or something like that. And when it came out, I was like, oh, look, someone else has seen the entity. So I got the book, you know, and I didn't read it all, to be honest. I got through the first few chapters, and by that point I'd gone off on one and I'd kind of gone deeper into other subjects, and I kind of left the book behind. But that book was there to serve to me that other people have experienced the Hat Man. My experience wasn't unique. Thousands of people keep meeting this character, and that's basically what she said in the first part of the book, you know. And I kind of forgot about her for a while, and I hadn't really read the book. The book's just kind of been on my shelf for years as a reminder, you know, that the Hat Man is real and other people experience him. And I just reached out to her because she'd recently been on the Ravens Watch podcast, and I haven't watched it, but I saw that she was doing interviews, which seemed quite rare. So I thought, oh, I'll ask if she wants to come on my channel and talk. And my thought process behind the whole thing was literally as simple as, she wrote the book on the Hat Man, she must have something to tell me. She must have some information, something extra to broaden the story more, you know, and give us some more information, because she's been seeped in it for ages, you know, and like she wrote the book on the subject, so she must know something. And anyway, the interview didn't go as well as I'd hoped. Now, I didn't get any inclination that she was intentionally malevolent, you know, and trying to deceive. But unfortunately, at the end of the interview, I didn't really feel like I'd gained anything from it. I didn't really feel like she had anything at all to offer to broaden the story, you know, to give us any more information. And in a weird way, when I asked her, so how does this person operate? What is he? What are your theories on who he is and where he comes from and what's going on here and the history of it all? She didn't answer the question. She basically said, I'm not interested in the history. I'm just interested in helping the people here now. And that was it. That's all I got from her. And it took her 20 minutes just to explain that in a roundabout way. She completely dodged the question. And it's like she had no idea who he was or anything about him, really. She had nothing to offer, you know. And That was a bit disheartening. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't go into the interview expecting that. And after that, it's kind of like, I just let her talk. Because I realised it doesn't matter what I ask. I'm not going to get an answer here, So I just let her tell her story, and I was typically British and polite about it, and I just let her tell her story and keep talking. And, she said a lot of things I disagree with on a fundamental basis. And I'm not saying it's malevolence. I'm going to assume ignorance before malevolence here. But she's still stuck on the alien stuff. She thinks aliens have contacted her. She thinks Jesus Christ has talked to her directly. And she thinks her friends have channeled aliens who are benevolent, who told her to talk to Jesus, and we're way past the alien stuff now in the truth of culture. I mean, I can't even, it was shocking to see somebody who's been in this for so long to not know that by now, that we don't have time to believing that nonsense. You know what I mean? We know aliens aren't real. We know they are demonic. We know they are demons. And channeling, you're not channeling good entities. You know what I mean? It's a huge deception. We figured this out like a decade ago. This is done. This is done stuff now. We're past it. We're way past that. So when she was saying all this stuff, I felt like I was thrown back into 2010, and I was like, it's like, catch up, Heidi. I was screaming in my head, but I just let her speak. It's like I didn't feel like there's much I could do about it. And that's just where she's at in her research. She's clearly at a certain level, which is not that really far advanced. And she said a lot of weird stuff about remembering before she was born, that she was sent here to do something, like she's a prophet of some kind. And then she was talking about how she's trademarked the Hat Man and shadow people, and she said some really weird stuff. I was being nice at the end, and I was suggesting people to her who have talked about the Hat Man, and saying, they've mentioned it themselves and they have their own theories and ideas. And her literal response was, "Oh, so they're infringing then?" And I was like, have I just got some people in trouble by saying this to her, And I shut up then. I was like, all right, I see what's going on here. Look, I get it. Everyone has to make a living, but unfortunately, whether you've trademarked the Hat Man or not, you're not going to be able to stop people from talking about it. You don't own him, and you can't own people's experiences, and people are experiencing the Hat Man independent of her research. So, after that interview went up, people were just railing me. They were absolutely going hard at me, and saying, "This woman's a charlatan. Don't you feel like a stupid fucking idiot for getting this woman on? You absolute moron. What's wrong with you? Don't you feel foolish?" And it's like, why are you ripping me apart? I just let the woman talk, And they weren't saying anything I disagreed with, which kind of annoyed me, you know what I mean? It's like, I agree with you. I don't like the interview. Why are you having to go at me, And I was kind of torn then. It's like, well, not every interview can be a win. Perhaps I should have done more due diligence before allowing her to talk on my channel. I didn't realise she had so much New Age belief and Gnosticism and kind of nonsense mixed in with the belief systems. I didn't realise she was so far behind, or perhaps even still perpetuating purposefully that alien narrative just because that's the world she's in on Coast to Coast Radio. I just literally thought naively, the woman wrote the book on the Hat Man. Let's get her on to talk about him. She must have something interesting to say. That's literally as far as my thought process went. And, I let her talk, and I learned very quickly what the deal was. And, if Heidi's listening, again, there's no hard feelings to you as a person. We're just in two very different places in our research. Very different viewpoints fundamentally. And I didn't feel like that interview really offered anything of value to anybody. So I've removed it from the channel. I didn't want people to come to my channel for the first time and see that and think that's what I do on my channel. Because, she said a lot of things I seriously disagree with as a Christian, which were not biblical or Christian in nature, but she was claiming to be. And, I was just polite and let her talk. I didn't really rebuke any of it in the show. So I don't want people to think I believe what she believed, you know? So because I hadn't counted any of it in the show, I couldn't leave it up. Did you get what I'm saying? Like, so at the same time, it's like, well, I want it still out there because I want people to see what she believes as well. You know, I don't want to get rid of it for freedom of speech and ideas and information, but I don't want to keep it up and tarnish my own image and make people, you know, think I believe that kind of stuff. I don't want to tacitly, indirectly support it. So I kind of had this choice to make. And I decided, you know what? I will remove it from YouTube, make it unlisted, but I will also make it available to patrons, so it still kind of exists. If you really want to see it, you can, but there's a huge disclaimer on the description for it, and I've explained clearly. Everything I've just said to you now is said in the description for that video, you know, and the title of it's changed as well, and so people know if they do watch it somehow through my Patreon, they know what the deal is, you know, they understand that it's not really useful in any sense of learning knowledge, but it could be useful as a tool to get a character profile of who Heidi is, maybe something like that. But again, I'm not into coming after Heidi Hollis. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not that kind of channel, you know. I'm not a shill hunter. But at the same time, I just couldn't keep it up for the sheer bad theology in it, you know, and it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. So that's a shame. Not every interview can be a win, unfortunately, you know, and it's sad that she couldn't glean any information for me, but I'm just going to leave that in the past to move on. And like I said, I had Gary Wayne on and we had a great talk, and, you know, his theology is pretty sound as far as I'm concerned. You may have arguments with certain details of his theology, but he knows the difference between Gnosticism and real biblical theology, so that's good. You know, that's as solid as I can get it. So there's a breakdown of the YouTube drama, shall we say, the drama. You know, not that I'm one for drama, but that's, if you were wondering what happened with that Hatman video, that's it. And if you were one of the people who viciously attacked me personally, simply for just having her on, it's kind of, come on, grow up. Life's not that black and white, you know. I gave her a chance. I was polite, and it didn't work out. You know, it's as simple as that, really. But it's gone. It's gone now. It's not visible for people to see on YouTube. So let's go to the chat. Let's see what people are saying. Let's see if anyone's got any responses to this or any questions on the matter. Catching up. Right, Ears to Hear says, here's a matter heavy on my mind lately. Are the Americas the actual promised land that Joshua led the tribes into? I've heard this stuff loosely. I haven't actually done a deep dive into that yet, Marie, so I wouldn't want to hazard a guess on it. But I have heard people speculating that, you know, the real Jerusalem is in America. Okay, no, the real, like I said, promised lands are in America, and that's where the history really went down. It's an interesting one. I don't know enough to talk about it, but it's definitely on my list of subjects to deep dive into. It really is. So I'm gonna have a look. Okay. Again, I don't want to put it down. I don't know. But I am always weary when these extremely Amerocentric ideas come up, as though America is literally the most important country in the world. It's always, you know, and I don't know if that's true. And then obviously, I'm not saying this is the case, but it's kind of the whole links to Mormonism as well and all that kind of stuff, which has its own serious issues, you know. About America being, you know, and then the new American prophets, you know, and Joseph Smith and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of, you've got to be careful. Like, I don't know, but I know there's a lot of stuff about that which is fascinating. I think Alpha talks about it a little bit as well, but I do need to do a deeper dive into that. I do. So, Paul, search clown gun cartoon PNG, I'm disturbed, says my wife. Okay, I'll have a look. Clown gun PNG. Is this going to be YouTube killer clown prankster. What am I looking for here? I can see there's a murder mystery thing here. There's like a multicoloured clown gun there. That is very weird. Right, so if you're wondering what I'm talking about here, me and my wife have just recorded our 3rd episode of mine and hers podcast called Tales Under the Big Top, where we look at articles about crazy news articles throughout the week and even the year. And just basically talk about how insane the world is. Just get a few things off our chest, have a laugh. It's a bit more light-hearted than this. And we've just done a clown episode for spooky season, for Halloween, for this October. We've just done an episode going through clown stories. Tried to keep it as fun as we can. We've done a few as much as we can in an hour. There's probably hundreds of more things we could have talked about, but we just talked about a few things in the hour just for a bit of fun. And I think she's currently trying to make the thumbnail. And I'm looking at Clown Gun PNG, and I don't know what it is you're talking about exactly that's disturbed you, but yeah, there's quite a few random things here coming up, to be honest. But yeah, guys, if you haven't subscribed to that already, check out me and my wife's YouTube channel called Tales Under the Big Top. She's in the chat there, so you can always click on that link. We try and post semi-regularly every couple of weeks or so. We have a bit of fun with that. So yeah, check that out if you want some extra content that isn't so heavy. It's not all conspiracy on there. It is a little bit lighter, but a bit of fun. So check that out. Anyway, let's go back to the chat, see what people are saying here. Mrs. Hippie Hebrew, love your work. Thank you. I like your name. That's pretty fun. Highlander, very hot. Oh, so that's what 100 degrees Fahrenheit is very hot. Okay. Thanks for letting me know, guys. I'm ignorant to Fahrenheit. I literally know nothing about it. Weird question, but would people being attracted to some Nephilim back then explain coulrophilia? Well, the thing is, if you read the Book of Lamech of Cain, which I mentioned briefly in my talk with Gary, it does talk of women lusting after the sons of God, so the angels, and also their offspring. And this is graphic, okay, this is really graphic, right? But it talks about them reveling in their huge phalluses and making them ejaculate all over them with torrents of semen, you know what I mean? It's kind of, and they enjoy that. Like the women enjoy making that happen type of thing. It's really, it's brutally, viciously graphic, okay? But it gives you an insight into just how insane that time to be alive would have been. I mean, I've heard other myths and stories as well. The giants' huge penises was a big thing, all right? It really was throughout history, you know, and you get a lot of phallic symbols today as well in the obelisk. But there's like a story, for example, from the Inuits who talk about the giants causing massive waves by splashing the phallus into the water, you know what I mean? And it seems to be a big thing. And I think there were women out there who were just insanely turned on and attracted by that, you know, and it was a real thing. And, you know, the women who end up getting impregnated by basically being covered in it gave birth to giants violently and burst open and split in half as the giant baby just burst out of them, you know. It was vicious and awful and cruel, you know. It was, and there was severe consequences for messing around with that kind of stuff. But in terms of that, you know, Nephilim philia or coulrophilia, I think you could say it was a thing then. In terms of today, it's basically just a perversion, isn't it? It's people are attracted to people who dress like clowns and get off on it, you know. So you could say there's some link to the Nephilim in that respect, but you know, people have perversions over anything these days. So I wouldn't hazard a guess, but if you want to link it to the past, there were certainly women who lusted after these giant monsters. Absolutely, I can believe that. It's again, sorry, I know that's incredibly graphic, but that's literally how it's described. The Hatman I saw had whiskey and offered me a drink, says Renee. Well, you should be careful with with taking food offerings from beings in your dreams, or in anywhere basically. In my dream with the Hatman, I was offered by my dead relatives, which were likely just Nephilim demons posing as my dead relatives. I was offered food and a tea. I don't even like tea. I drink coffee. I hate tea, but I drank the tea anyway. And that seemed to cause the Hatman to appear as soon as I did that. And as Vicky Jo Anderson was explaining to me when I was talking with her about it, food is a way covenants are finalized in Hebrew law, especially in weddings. And a consummation of a marriage, let's say, or a contract can either be obviously through having sex. That's how you consummate a marriage. But in terms of contracts, which are very similar to marriage contracts, another way to consummate a contract is to eat and have food. So it could be that you are actually making some kind of soul contracts with these entities when you take food from them. So you should be, it's like signing your name on the dotted line. If you take his whiskey and drink it, it's like finalizing the agreement you're making with the demon. So be highly vigilant of eating any food at all when in the spirit realm or in a dream realm or dealing with entities. Don't do it, is my recommendation. You don't need it. As tempting as a lot of it may be, you don't need to eat in a dream. So I'd leave it. Just say no. Some of these pictures you have to see to believe. Yeah. What else have we got? CFR Network. Thanks for being here. I've recently just... about a month ago, I talked with CFR, and he's just released the podcast on his YouTube channel and on his podcast. So if you guys haven't checked that out already, you can go listen to that on my channel in the live section, on his channel, and also on Spotify. Excuse me. Random common attraction to clowns. Yeah. Who else have we got? That's cold-blooded. I just heard someone say when Nephilim banged humans, it explained dinosaur bones, and humans bang dinos. Lol. Deaf tinfoil hat now that I think about. It sounds like something they would have said on tinfoil hat. That does sound like a Sam Tripoli-ism. That's true. I don't know about that. But yeah, there was a lot of mixing going on, if not through the mixing of DNA, literally in a gooey sense. There was definitely some kind of weird genetic engineering going on as well, in the mixing of kinds. Absolutely, that much is without a doubt. Maybe a bit of both. Gary was explaining how there was kind of a fertility issue for the Nephilim in that talk. And how it got a lot more difficult to reproduce for them as time went on. And what is funny, in the book of Lamech of Cain, it does kind of talk about a severe shortage of women. A lot of them were just raped and killed, and it was becoming a serious issue. And more complicated to impregnate people as well, it seemed like. I don't know if it's by nature of them being so inbred to begin with, or something, I don't know. But there was a lot of talk of these type of issues in the book of Og, of Bashan. Is some serious talk about infertility issues and a lack of suitable women to continue the Nephilim bloodline. And as he explained, King Og was obsessed with the coming of this particular woman, and the birthing of this special daughter who would be a future, basically, producer of more Nephilim, or like the savior of the fertility issue. But I think she was killed by Nimrod or something like that. And then King Og's book is basically him just going on and on and on about how evil Nimrod is and how he wants to murder him for what he did. And that's basically it. But yeah, there's a lot of, seems like some serious infertility issues were going on in the past with the giants. Do you guys think the Smithsonian destroyed the giant bones they got hold of, or do they actually hide them somewhere? I think it's likely they just destroyed them, though some of them have probably been kept for safekeeping somewhere. But I think it's likely they just destroyed a lot of the evidence very quickly, so no traces could be found. I do think so. I mean, I've been reading a lot of books about that for my book, and the amount of like these mounds all over America, you know, these serpent mounds that were full of giant bones, and it all happened in like the 1800s. But everyone was uncovering all these giants everywhere, all across America and all across the world even. And every time a giant bones were discovered, people stupidly, willingly sent them to the Smithsonian thinking they were safe there. And they just disappeared. They just kept disappearing over and over and over again. And there was definitely some dodgy stuff going on with the leadership at the time as well, and some dodgy characters were put in positions of power who had specific ideologies, who needed to spread a specific evolutionary theory. So they were purposely quashing any evidence that was against it, and it was a fascinating read actually. But I kind of cover it in my book when that comes out, so you can read about it. But there's plenty of books out there talking about these things. It's a weird conspiracy, and a lot of dodgy stuff was happening during the time these giant bones were being dug up. So unfortunately, all the evidence was there. The evidence we have left are all the newspaper articles from that time, hundreds of them, all announcing the discovery of giant bones in these mounds, and then never hearing about it ever again. But we have all these newspaper articles as evidence that people were finding giant bones all over the place. And these were reputable archaeologists as well. They weren't just random nobodies. They were well-established names in archaeology announcing that they found these bones, you know. And so I believe it's true. I believe it's all there, and it matches history that I've explained the Nephilim history perfectly. But now, today, you would be hard-pressed to find any of them, because they've already kind of all been dug up already, and they've all been destroyed or hidden already. So now it's in the realm of plausible deniability, and you can just say, well, where are all the giant bones then? We don't find giants everywhere, you know, but we did. We found them all a couple of 100 years ago, you know, 100 years ago or so, and they've all been found and removed. It's done now. Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, when you actually think about how much our history has been erased. It really is. What else we got here? It's 2023, a male, female, what's the difference, really? It's the current year, what's the difference between genders and sex, eh? I'm glad to hear you say that, says Jeremiah. Okay, I'm not sure what that's to, but I'm glad you're glad. There are female giants in Norse mythology. Yeah, I don't disagree that there would have been female Nephilim giants. There absolutely would have been. I think there were few and far between. Like we discussed, a lot of women who did mate with the fallen angels initially were changed genetically first in order to be able to keep producing Nephilim without dying. And they were turned into sirens, is what we know, what has been explained. And to become a siren is not simply just to be a woman with some animal traits. It's to become godlike. It's to become immortal as well. It's to become, to live for an extremely long time, and to be extremely hardy, and to have the Rephaim nature of extreme healing properties. Meaning you not only are you now half woman, half reptile, half snake-like, fish-like being of some kind, or avian being, but you also have the hardiness of a Nephilim creature, so you can survive the brutality of giving birth to more and more monsters and Nephilim. And that's what they were used for. Mortal women, normal human women, who gave birth to Nephilim, died in the process, hideously. Literally being torn in half. It was a hideous process. But the sirens who were changed, they could keep doing it indefinitely. And in many ways, they were considered female Nephilim. Though the origins weren't the same, they were considered gods, little gods, and they were allowed to sit in on the meetings of the gods in Mount Olympus, even though they were of human origin originally, They were considered of such importance to the agenda at play by the fallen angels that The Sirens got to sit in on the staff meetings to discuss how they're going to corrupt things even more. They got to be there at the top. They were considered just as important. So it's just an interesting history, isn't it, when you start seeing it? All this stuff starts clicking into place. Anyway, let's get back to the chat. What's going on? I wondered what was going on in that interview. Yeah, so I've explained it all now. It is what it is. Glad you're talking about this. Yeah. Copyright the Hat Man is ludicrous. Yeah. You know what? I would. You're not responsible for someone else's views. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you guys have helped me. Stuck on my side with that one a little bit, but some people really were not happy with even just letting her talk, like full stop. If this is business to you, I guess it makes sense to you. I don't know what's going on there. That sounds aggressive. Some people are just way too trigger happy nowadays. Yeah. It comes with the territory, though. It's okay. This picture roll is messing with my head. Need some shrooms. I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, these are some pictures I've gathered over the years doing my research. I'm just letting them roll through the background. Nephilim clown related stuff. Live chat for my favourite channel says, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, the chat's just bouncing around all over the place. Let me just try and catch up to it. Gary Wayne was great, says Renee. Yeah, he was. I like it. It was good. Like I said, I hope to get him back on again sometime. Show Paul some love. Thumbs up, says Kelly Clark. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Like I said, thumbs up, share, like this thing, get it out there. Let's get more people on board. Didn't watch the interview yet. I give it a go. Sorry, late to the chat, says One Day Free. Who are you speaking about? Many things and many people. That's all I can say. You can always rewatch this at a different time. Scales of Justice. Interesting. Isn't the New Jerusalem a spiritual kingdom? I guess the New Jerusalem will be, yeah. Yeah, but I'm talking about the original Promised Land. I think is what we were talking about. The lands of Canaan, basically, that were taken back, for God's chosen people in the Nephilim Wars, basically, when they were wiping out the Anakim, and the Zanzimemes and all the other Eames that were out there. People are theorizing that was American land, which is interesting, but I don't know enough about it to say, really. I really don't know. I need to do more research. I'm always hesitant to give too much on things I don't really know enough about. But it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting one I'm going to have to cover for certain. I knew it. Human bang dinosaurs. Thanks for the confirmation. Maybe they did. A lot of crazy stuff was happening at that time. Cheese, Paul, all you needed to say was yes or no. I'm sorry, things got a bit graphic there. Also, the images, I was just looking for a regular old toy gun. Yeah, there was some psychedelic stuff out there, wasn't there? Well, now, isn't that special? Yeah. You started to read my question, but mixed it in with the first question. I'm sorry, Maurice, you're going to have to explain that one again. I'm quite far ahead in the chat, and I don't think I can scroll back without losing my place of where I am. Pray over your food too, yeah. Interesting answer from Gary Wayne about some Nephilim being well-intentioned and choosing God. It was at the end, and it's not really an angle on the Nephilim a lot of people want to consider. That could they have had a change of heart and tried to do good by God? He says it seems like it. It seems like there were Nephilim, and he explains all the names himself. Who did help Israel. Perhaps some of them did have a change of heart and realized, that their only hope really was to go to God, in repentance and try and offer as much as they can to Him in their life. But judgment at the end of the day, Gary's view on it all was basically judgment is his. It's not up for us to decide who is and isn't saved. So it was interesting, and yeah. I know a lot of people argue, no Nephilim can be saved or redeemed at all. But who knows? Our God is a God of mercy at the end of the day. So who knows? Who knows? It's an interesting thought experiment anyway. Could the Nephilim have suffered from hermaphroditism? Is that hermaphroditism? Is that how you pronounce that? I've heard that theory that the Nephilim were hermaphrodites as a consequence of them being part angel, and the angels themselves were sexless beings. And so as a consequence, they were androgyne in nature, just like the angels. Hence why we have this huge push for androgynism in today's modern age, the blurring of the sexes, basically. It's kind of to make vessels more compatible with the Nephilim spirits. So to make people more androgyne would help that, If the theory that I purport that how you dress and how you look is a way to mimic things in the spiritual in order to channel them. You dress like a clown, you end up channeling demons, because the demons look like clowns. You dress like the thing to attract the thing is what shamans have always done. So if they're convincing society to make themselves more androgyne and clown-like in nature, are they trying to make vessels more open, portal-wise, to being possessed by the spirits of the now dead Nephilim, who perhaps were androgyne in nature? It's an interesting thought experiment, definitely. Possible. I wouldn't know, though, exactly. Obviously, Baphomet is a good example of an androgyne satanic god, which seems to be Azazel, which is an angel, a representation of a androgyne angel, And Azazel was the leader of the Watchers who did mate with the human women along with Samyaza. So it's possible, but we can only speculate on these things. But there's definitely some kind of connection between the hermaphrodite nature and the Nephilim. It might explain their extreme fertility issues as well that we were talking about earlier. It could have something to do with it. It's fun to think about anyway, but I don't have a definitive answer on that, unfortunately. But definitely interesting. Well, I can't read that comment, can I, John Daniels? But maybe, maybe. Have you considered the idea of us being in the little season, says Renee. I have considered that quite a lot. No, it's funny, someone said to me the other day, randomly on I made a post saying, Gary Wayne's coming on to have a chat. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. Keep your eye out for it. It's coming next week. And someone commented on it saying something like, God, do you only have one bullet in your gun? It's always the Nephilim and clowns with you. Can you have nothing? Do you not speak about anything else? And I replied to him and said, we literally didn't speak about the clowns once in that interview. So I don't know what you're talking about. And I felt like saying back to him, I only need one bullet and I never miss. So there's nothing wrong with having one bullet in your gun, whatever. But it's also, I looked back at my recent videos and I realised I haven't actually made a Nephilim look like clown video for like 11 videos. I'm like 11 videos on and I haven't made a clown video, for the series. I might have mentioned it in passing here and there in some random other videos, but I haven't actually discussed them in depth in a while. So it's kind of like, what are you talking about? And on your topic, yes, I have been discussing the little season theory a lot recently in my more recent uploads. So there's one about Christmas and Santa, which ties into it. But if you go back in time, you can see I've been talking about it quite a lot. There's the No Forest on Earth one, which loosely ties into that. I talk about the Millennial Kingdom and the Camp of Saints, if we are in the little season. then it's possible that the camp of saints, which is in the North Pole, or the Rupus Nigra, is currently on its way to Siberia, which is the broad expanse. And I've theorized on the little season a lot recently, yes. So if you're interested, go check out some of my recent uploads there, Renee, to get some ideas. I've been mulling around about it there. I found reference to the cats that appear in cults from the past. Where can I send you the link? My email's in the description of this video. It's understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. And if anybody wants to send me anything you've been researching and looking at, you can always send something to understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. I get plenty of emails there. I do read them. I don't always reply because I'm busy and I have a lot of things to do, and it's not always easy to give big replies to people. I try, but I do read them. So I appreciate anything people can send me, okay? I do think we're in the little season, says he leaves the 99. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where I stand on that exactly, but, for a long time when I first woke up, and started going down the Christian route, when I first started coming out of the New Age, and finding my faith, I was very much in that end times worldview, like a lot of us were, when we first woke up. I woke up around 2012 with the end of the world prophecies, and all that sort of stuff, and the Mayan calendar stuff, and when I started looking at biblical stuff about the mark of the beast, and the coming new world order and the mark of the beast system and the beheading of the saints and all this type of thing, and I was very much thinking, yeah, all the signs are there that we're in that time now and it's happening, But I don't know what it is, but after researching the little season stuff, coming out of the Tartarian research into the little season research, I kind of look back on all this research now about prophecy being fulfilled and revelations coming to fruition now. Jesus is about to return and have his millennial reign. It's coming. It's right around the corner. And it's kind of like, all of it does... I don't know if anyone here agrees with me on this. It feels like all of that stuff where people have been preaching that prophecy is being fulfilled and Jesus is right about to return to reign for 1,000 years. It all just feels tacky and cheap and kind of like a psyop, right? And I know that's really, for a lot of Christians out there, that's blasphemy what I've just said, because Christ is about to return in their eyes, But I feel like I've been in this game for long enough now to kind of see a trick when I see one, And all the big proponents and the ones who are spreading this idea that we're in that time now where sudden destruction's about to come on us all and Jesus is about to return to reign for 1,000 years, Something about it, just when I watch these preachers and I watch these channels talking about it, something about it just feels off, right? And no, I'm a Christian. And I would love if that Jesus was about to return and reign for 1,000 years and I get to live in that time. I would like that. That would be really nice, But my faith isn't based on it. My faith isn't solely based on the transactional gift of not having to suffer and getting to live for 1,000 years with Christ. That's not what my faith is based on, getting that nice stuff. My faith is based on that in the end of everything, when I do die, I'm covered and I'm safe. You get what I mean? And also personal experiences and things like that, which have led me to have my beliefs, of course. But it was never molded. My faith was never founded on reading about Jesus coming back and reigning for 1,000 years, or me possibly being able to be raptured or something like that. I've never once been banking on it. That's never once been my foundation for my faith, that I get to avoid all the pain, It wasn't a loss for me to consider that maybe it's come and gone. Maybe it's over. And maybe we're living in that last period of time. We're living in the remnants of that kingdom, and destroying it slowly, to be honest, until there'll be probably nothing left. And, and I'm sure Satan will use that to his advantage to convince us all to band together for one last final push against the camp of saints, where Jesus is currently and has been since he's been reigning for 1,000 years, And it could be we're in that little season. It could be, And I don't want to upset Christians, and I'm not trying to deceive people or lead them away from their faith, or I'm not some paid shill trying to spread disinformation and blasphemy or whatever. I've been accused of all sorts of stuff since talking about this topic. I'm just sincerely looking into these things, and I'm seeing patterns emerge that feel right, and it feels like there really is some kind of agenda at play today to convince us that Jesus is about to return to reign for 1,000 years, and I think it falls into this whole New World Order agenda. I don't know. I think the whole planned fake alien invasion stuff and all. I just feel like we're being played, and there's something off about feeling like Jesus is about to return now. I don't know. There's something weird about it, and I don't think it's like a deep pitted feeling in my stomach. It's like a knowing in my stomach. I can't explain what it is. I can't. It's a struggle, and I don't want to upset people because I don't know. Okay, I'm not a preacher. It's like I'm not a spiritual leader. Like I've never proclaimed myself to be such things. I'm not even like an expert on biblical theology. But I just know a thing or two, and I've picked things up over time. And my opinion is, something's up with what we've been told about our timeline and our history. It's wrong. I think we're massively off, and does that mean the millennial kingdom has come and gone? I don't know, maybe. But I'm open to it being maybe. I'm not just willing to just shoot it down over some preconceived belief system that other people have dogmatically believed from their churches or something, because again, I didn't come at this from a church angle. I'm what I've called myself many times, a backdoor Christian. I came into this, I fell into this from an angle most people don't. I wasn't raised into believing God, and Jesus. I did it myself. I was called to learn these things, through experiences. It's different. So I guess this is why it's easier for me to believe. But I've had people say all sorts of horrible things to me since even just humouring the idea, and the worst stuff has come from other Christians. It's really come from the people you'd think would be willing to openly discuss these ideas, knowing that we're at least brothers in Christ, at least. But no. That's not what I've been getting, unfortunately. Yeah. I won't say his name, but there was one channel who I supported when he first came. He didn't have originally a channel discussing conspiracy, but he had about 10,000 subs discussing other things. And he started to talk about conspiracy, and his subs were like hating him for it and not really watching his videos. And I found his work, and I was like, yeah, keep going, man. It's cool. I like what you're doing. I like it. Keep doing what you're doing, keep saying your things. And he kind of started to spiral a little bit. And we're on good terms at first. And then lately, he's kind of snapped with this whole Israel thing and the Gaza war thing. And he's gone down the whole prophecy is being fulfilled now. Jesus' return is imminent, and all this stuff. He went down that route. And he started attacking all my videos and commenting on all my videos and talking with people in the chat constantly in the videos and the comments, and just putting people down and attacking them for even considering this idea, not my idea, but just the idea that maybe it's come and gone. And the most recent one, he started having a go at me for taking down the Heidi Hollis video. in a weird way. And then he after a back and forth where I said, I've not taken it down and you're on the wrong video, like you're getting confused. He thought I deleted all the comments. But I hadn't deleted all the comments. I'd removed the video completely, and he was complaining about a different video. It was really complicated and convoluted and weird. But at the end of the conversation was basically him saying to me, you should be talking about this, Israel and Gaza right now. That's the only thing that matters and that's important. But instead you're just here talking about the clowns. So I'm out, bye. And I'm like, mate, where did that come from? Why are you being like this? You're losing your mind. Calm down. I've been nothing but a friend to you from the start. And he just went nuts and attacked me and accused me of being evil because I don't talk about the topics he thinks I should be talking about. And it's kind of like, God, there's a game to play here, I can't just go around talking about everything and anything. What I do is the Nephilim clown stuff. I'm writing a book on it. I need to maintain my platform on a steady level, at least until the book is written. I can't just go around talking about the most incredibly controversial topics ever. That's just asking to be banned, you know what I mean? I can't believe it, and it's kind of like, I'm not allowed to talk about what I want to talk about on my channel. And if I do, I'm evil and leading people astray or something. And it's kind of like, I'm sorry you feel that way, to put it extremely politely. But there's other things I'd like to say. But it grinds my gears. It's insane, and these are the type of things I've had to deal with simply since I've started talking about the little season concept. It's turned people I thought were Christian brothers into enemies. I certainly haven't become their enemy, but in their eyes, I've become theirs, But in my eyes, they're not mine. And it's weird. It's really weird, and it's sad in a way. And let's see what people are saying anyway. Let's keep going. Medusa beheaded, yep. Wait, are you the Nephilim clown guy on tinfoil hat? Yes, AI Mac, that's me. I'm the Nephilim look like clowns guy. That's me. I hope you check out the entire 41 episode series I have in the playlist on my channel if you haven't already, to do the Nephilim Look Like Clowns. More on the way. I do have 5 episode topics lined up, but I am seldom finding any time right now to make the damn videos because I'm currently on the podcast circuit. I have about 7 more podcasts coming up in the next month. And they do take up a full evening each, from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. for me. And I think I have more than 7 coming up. I don't know. And obviously I'm writing a book in between, which takes up a lot of my time as well. I do these live streams and I'm interviewing people myself in between. So, I've not been able to crank out as many videos as I normally would like to on the Nephilim clown stuff. But I do have ideas written down and topics I know I want to cover. So they will come out eventually. So stick around for the show if you're interested. But I've been trying to write. I'm trying to find time to write as well. It's getting harder because I also obviously I run a photography company. I currently have 3 weddings albums I need to edit. And that takes a hell of a lot of time, A big chunk of my time is going towards my actual job, understandably. So there's that as well. So what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and try and get a couple of hours writing in before my son wakes up about 7, 8 o'clock. Hopefully that can boost my productivity on the book side of things. But I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty burnt out. I'm stretched extremely thin. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Anyway, what's going on in the chat? What have we got? I'll ask again. Okay, here we go. Do you think the Nephilim returned after the flood was by the sea, as in mer people? It is said in the Bible that all life on land and air was destroyed. Yes, I think a lot of them did come from the sea. Absolutely. And there are also stories of bird people surviving too, outside of the biblical canon. There are plenty of stories of avian-like creatures, hybrids, surviving the floods by being able to stay above the water the whole time, above the clouds, long enough for it to settle down so then they can rest on top of the water like a bird would, you know. The Canary people's backstory of where is it? I've lost it. It's South America, but the north part of South America near Panama. What's it called? The Canary peoples. Type in the Canary peoples South America and you'll find their creation myth is literally human males surviving a flood by climbing to an incredibly high mountain and then mating with human bird women afterwards to repopulate the area. So they have their own avian survival, but the majority of it was literally through human beings mixing themselves with aquatic creatures in order to survive the flood. Yeah. Mer people, definitely. And water kingdoms is marine kingdoms is a big subject in the truth of culture as well. Spiritual marine kingdoms, you know. I do think a lot of corrupted flesh was able to survive through the oceans and through the rivers and the seas. Absolutely. But there was also there's plenty of theories as to how they got to the other side of the flood. Other than that, you know, that's one concept. A lot of Nephilim. There's plenty of stories that show that there were Nephilim who made boats. You know, Noah wasn't the only one who made a boat. Like it's pretty simple, really. Zuizudra's survival story, or Upnapishtim, depending if you want to go off the Akkadian or the Sumerians, Epic of Gilgamesh tale, but Zuizudra and Upnapishtim, the 10th king of Larsa of the antediluvian kingdom, he survived by building a boat. And he got to live forever after the flood. One of the angels gave him immortality. That didn't happen to Noah. Noah wasn't given immortality. It's a different person, different story. Similar survival, similar method of survival, you know. So Nephilim did literally survive the flood by numerous means, not simply just by the aquatic nature, but that was certainly one of the means, I think. So, yeah. Nephilim blank tsunamis isn't something I think I'd ever read in my life. He started it. Yeah, I know. I didn't start it. The Book of Lamech of Cain started it. Don't look at me. You're the Nephilim look like clowns guy. It's pretty good in my honest opinion, yeah. That's me. I'm that guy. Disregard the trolls. So easy to be a critic rather than a creator. Tell me about it. It's hard work being a creator, you know. We put a lot of time of our blood, sweat and tears into doing stuff like this, you know, and building these communities. And some people just don't appreciate it. But like I said, it comes with the territory. Paul, do you have interest in any other conspiracies other than the clown Nephilim one you started? As I just said, Principe, yes. I do an entire Remember series dedicated to many other topics, utterly unrelated to the clowns. Before I was the clown guy in 2016, I went deep into every single topic you could imagine, okay? A lot of those videos have been removed, so my backdated stories are actually my videos are actually quite limited. But yes, I cover a lot of things. I have a bit of knowledge about pretty much everything to do with conspiracy. I'm not saying that I'm an expert at everything, but I have some knowledge about pretty much every single topic, near enough. I'm just an expert in the Nephilim clown subject. That's where my thing is. That's my shtick, you know. But yes, I talk about all sorts. So go look at my channel. Look up Random Ruminations playlist. You'll find plenty of stuff in there that is completely unrelated to clowns, where I cover loads of other topics. So have a look at that one. But yes, I do talk about other things. In regards to Thoth of Egypt, Gary basically links it to Enoch, Book 3, and that the speculation the first Hermes was Enoch of Cain's lineage. Yeah. Hermes Trismegistus is a tricky one, because it was seen to be a reoccurring character through many civilizations over before and after the flood. It seems to all be linked to Enochian wisdom and Enochian priesthoods. Perhaps Hermes is a title rather than a person, if you get what I mean. Perhaps those who have learnt the mysteries to a certain level get to become a Hermes Trismegistus character, a Hermes-type character. It's confusing, and I think it's meant to be confusing. But he basically also says after the flood, it was a Hermes character, a Hermes-like priest, who basically found the knowledge which Enoch the bad, so Enoch on the bad side, not Enoch the good, but Enoch of Cain's lineage. So there was two Enochs, you have to remember that. But basically Enoch, the firstborn son of Cain, the bad one, preserved all the knowledge of the seven sacred sciences on pillars made of stone, because he knew that would survive a cataclysm. Okay? And it was a very powerful, indestructible stone. Okay, I don't know what it was exactly. But these pillars, along with a shit ton of information written down in scrolls, was hidden in vaults. It's described as like 7 vaults. Okay. After the flood, the 2 pillars were recovered and the vaults were found, and all the knowledge that corrupted the antediluvian age in these cults, which were headed by Enoch the bad. He's the initial creator of all these cults who occulted and hid and preserved all this knowledge for their own power and gain. It was found after the flood by a Hermes character, and he was basically the one who re-established the Enochian wisdoms, or the 7 sacred sciences which Enoch occulted in these vaults, back into the post-diluvian world. So antediluvian was Enoch and his sons, who created priesthoods which kept the knowledge hidden, which was taught to them through Cain, who learned it from Adam, who learnt it from God. Do you get what I mean? And all these 7 liberal arts, as they were known, or the 7 sacred sciences, you can be a god if you have that knowledge, right? So after the flood, this knowledge was found, written on the pillars and in the vaults, and then re-established the secret societies and cults once more, and that's why we have secret societies today. It's this wisdom that they believe was from the pre-antediluvian world, and it continued on down all the way to the modern age, occulted and hidden and taught to the adepts in the levels of Freemasonry, for example, as one secret society, you know. Yes, it's a creepy, weird history, but Hermes was basically not only an antediluvian priest, possibly an analogue for Enoch himself, or maybe some of his children, but it was also a post-diluvian priest-like character who reintroduced Enochian wisdom into the world. It says, I think he worked with Nimrod, and Nimrod played a big part in rediscovering the knowledge as well. And it's possible he even used that knowledge, which he found on the pillars, to corrupt his DNA in order to become a Gibberim, or a mighty man, which is the same description given to many of the Nephilim, you know. So it's interesting. It's interesting to speculate, but yeah, there was a lot of seedy, backhanded stuff going on during that time period in order to preserve the knowledge which corrupts people, you know, and also makes people like a god. So John Daniel says the trib is going to start in 2026 with the destruction of Damascus. Apophis meteor will hit in 2029. Mark of the Beast in 2030. God comes back in 2033. It's probably the timeline we're on. See, how do you know any of that? How do you know any of that. I'm sorry, John Daniel. I mean, no one knows the day or the hour. We were told that specifically. But also, it really does seem like Jesus was being extremely imminent when he described things to the apostles, in the past, to his disciples. He was telling them, you will not die before I return. I feel like it's done. And I feel like all this date setting now, and trust me, that paragraph you just wrote there, setting all these dates when things are going to happen. First of all, meteors coming out of the sky? No, that's wrong for many reasons, and I'm sure my alternative cosmology people out there will understand why that's ridiculous. The destruction of Damascus. We're not even 100% certain that the geographical locations you've been told are the holy sites, true geographical locations. Okay, there's plenty of stuff out there which contradicts that. And I remember a decade ago, people positive with their dates that everything you described was supposed to happen over the last 10 years that have just passed. It seems to me like you've just moved the dates forward a decade. And it's always like that. It always keeps going on and on and on like that. And what are you supposed to do with that knowledge now? What are you going to do knowing all this stuff that you've just said there? Are you going to live your life? Or are you going to put everything off from now on and not attempt to even live your life in any way, shape or form? Because what's the point, right? Everything's about to end in 2026. A meteor. Everything about it feels like it's just designed to make us passive and useless and weak. I feel like it's fear. I feel like it's some form of fear control. And then people argue, well, I'm not fearing my God returning, And good for you, you have that much faith that you feel safe if that was to happen, that it doesn't matter what happens because everything's fine. It's a good thing for those who follow Jesus. It's a bad thing for those who don't type of attitude. But I don't feel like most people who are making these dates and predicting these things are living in peace when they say this stuff. I do think fear is driving it all. And just be careful. Don't be so certain. Really don't. And I'm not saying this to put your faith down or anything. I'm not. I'm saying it to help you not lose your mind. Because I see it so often. People utterly lose their minds trying to figure out when Jesus is going to return. And setting all these dates and listening to this man and that man and these other eccentric characters out there with these charismatic ways of being and saying things, and they're always adamant I now know it. I know everything now. I can put it in my calendar and it's set, And then these days come and pass. Nothing happens. And I feel like their faith is more shaken because of that. And is weaker because of it. But if that perspective shift is made, if it's true the little season has come and gone, which again I don't know, but if it's true, it really changes the dynamic of how Christians would behave. It really does. Because we wouldn't be constantly in this searching for signs mode. We would just be living the life as best we can. We would be edifying each other. And we wouldn't be anxious all the time that the boss is about to return type of stuff. You know what I mean? We would kind of be... I feel like we'd be more focused if we weren't constantly being wound up to think Jesus is about to appear at any moment all the time. There's something about it that just feels off. Do you know what I mean? And I pray on these things because I don't know. I'm not... I don't know. I'm not a prophet. I don't know anything. And I don't want to proclaim that I do, and I would never set a date to set my watch by. I would never even dream of doing such a thing, because we're just so ignorant. We're just in such a position of of a lack of knowledge, that I don't feel like we can know these things. And say, oh, well, God gives us signs. He shows us the signs for us to follow and to know and things like that. It's like, I guess, but who's to say you can interpret those signs correctly? You know what I mean? And even then, who's to say those signs are the signs he was talking about? Like, I don't know. There's something off about it. Please, John, just be careful. Okay, just be careful with those date settings. Just really do it. Only the Father knows the day or the hour, yeah. Paul, keep reading. I answer your question. See, Israel got refounded in the 1960s. Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Like, Israel is a people, not a place. I'm sorry, you need to get that in your head. Like, Israel is not a geographical location. Israel is God's people. And, God, that's a heavy deception. Such a heavy deception. That's really... It's doing a number on Christians. Seriously. Yeah, I just got to be careful. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to read comments here. Sorry, I went quiet there. You just call me Gen Z, bro. I don't know what I called you. Someone's arguing about Intel. I don't know what's going on there. Intel is something AMAC has in his behind. I jest my apologies. Indie Luna, I absolutely love your work. I have learned so much from you, and I'm grateful for all the work you do. God bless you. Oh, thank you. Slow-mo, Paul, watch Nigerian people talk about mer spirits. They're definitely real. Many people in Africa have accounts of dating mermaids. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. There was a flooding a year or so ago in the UK, and there was a lot of supernatural activity in those areas. Interesting. There's actually a lot of heavy flooding happening in the UK right now as well. Cars. This is the thing, when it rains just a little bit too heavy in England, everything comes to a standstill because everything's just small, narrow country roads in the middle of valleys and dips and hills. So there's always these pockets that just become huge, impassable, like 3-meter deep puddles. And that go on for maybe like 10 meters or something, and then yeah, it's sad when it rains a bit in England. We just can't deal with it. You'd think we would have found a way to deal with rain in England, right? Like the wettest bloody country in the world, but nope. We didn't think that far ahead with our drainage systems. Talk about Hermes a bit more. I think the thrice great part of Hermes, Thoth, is something esoteric level or a state, a graduate status. Yeah, I think it becomes a title at some point rather than actual people. Though I do think there were historically people who were given the title, definitely. But it's just a continuation of the Enochian wisdoms, like I said earlier. It's nothing special, really. They all have their own name for it. It's just pure Gnosticism, isn't it? That's all I can say. Nimrod founded the mystery schools and the fraternal groups of deluded brethren, didn't he? He did, yeah. Nimrod he was the first Mason, really. Nimrod, absolutely. He started Freemasonry, and I do believe he got the knowledge from the pillars which were preserved after the flood by Enoch to continue that knowledge, absolutely. And he had his priest to help him do that, which was again a Hermes-like character, absolutely. Yakim and Boaz, yeah, they're the two pillars, yeah. Which are obviously very serious in Freemasonry as a symbol as well. Someone said the world ended in 2012. It seems more likely every day. Maybe we're all in purgatory. I've heard that one before. I don't think so, but it's fun to speculate, I know. Nothing upsets Christians more than calling out dates because they're always wrong about their dates. They don't even know how to get into heaven either, even though God tells you in the book. Okay. Tired of lies and deception, very hard to discern the times and so many agendas at play. That's right, Humble. It is. It's confusing, isn't it? I know, it really is. What does Zuma know about Heaven's Gate? I just googled it. It is in fact a place. Yes, there might be a place currently called Israel. That doesn't mean that the people in there are all the chosen people of God, and that's specifically where they all need to congregate and be. That's not it. That's just I don't know. I feel like I'm not going to get through to you on that one, John. Never mind. Be careful with that, Paul. Here in the States, Texas, for example, not supporting Israel 100% can disqualify you from government and or certain jobs. Yeah, I've heard about that. Paul, look into some of the claims I made in the chat, the same as you looked into the Tartarian millennial reign stuff. Okay. I've got a $5 super chat. They feed on your fear like hungry ghosts. To instead feed on your love would bring death unto them and their kin. Appreciation, Paul. Oh, thank you. I like that. Thank you. That's a nice message. Share how Israel is the people and not a geographical place. Trust your scriptures and the holy set-apart spirit to guide you in all truth. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Don't follow men. Ask the Father. Yeah. Agree so much, Sacred Grove. Often you can tell who people are aligned with. We share our world with death feeders, unfortunately. That's true. It does seem like it. Definitely in the age of deception. Right, I think I pretty much caught up with the chat there. I'm sorry if I missed anything at all. Again, I'm not... It's hard to get through every message. I'm not looking to digress into a theological debate about what is and isn't Israel. Right now, I am not touching that with a 10-foot barge pole because that's how you end up getting banned. And I do sometimes feel like there are people purposefully trying to get me into that to create some kind of pretext to get me banned. I do honestly, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I do feel sometimes like I'm being baited. It happens a lot, and I don't. It's not going to work if that's true. We all know what's going on with that whole mess, I don't have to say it necessarily for guys to understand that. What did I call this video? Is there any topic I need to talk about, which I mentioned that I would? Halloween ideas. Yeah. So Natasha sent me a message, a long-time subscriber. She wants me to make a video breaking down Halloween. And I do think I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and make an episode before Halloween. Basically just going into the occult history of it, just giving you a brief overview and an explanation of that and why we probably shouldn't be partaking in that really as people of faith, and I'll try and keep it in my typical dry British humour style. I'll try and keep it relatively light-hearted. But Samhain, which is based on, is obviously a Celtic religion, or in terms of origins, based in obviously the times of fairy folklore and the Tuatha De Danann. So there's a lot of history there linking back to the Nephilim as well, and I think it'd be worth making a Halloween history video so we can understand why we dress the way we do. And also, I think I could share with you some spooky old Halloween costumes that people used to wear, which are just really creepy. It might blend quite nicely with the Nephilim clown stuff, because people used to dress like clowns quite a lot in the late 1800s. And because obviously there wasn't mass production of costumes back then and they were all handmade, they just have their own special particular flavour of creepiness to them, So I think I'll share some of that as well in a Halloween episode, with it being spooky season. I've also been told to talk about the digital circus The Amazing Digital Circus, which is a new animation created by a YouTuber called Glitch, which is very much about fractaled matrix, demonic creatures, human AI stuff going on, all circus themed with clowns and jesters and all sorts of stuff going on. And the main AI who's got the humans trapped there is called Kane, funnily enough. So it's all there. There's so much to break down in that. I've watched it, and it's pretty on the nose, to be honest. So I think I'll make a fun episode just breaking that down, maybe for the Nephilim Clown series, maybe just as a standalone video, separate, I don't know. So I'm going to do that as well at the behest of a lot of people's requests. So I will talk about that. I'm trying to think of anything else that's I do need to talk about that people have been requesting. If you do have any requests, let me know in the chat now, to be honest, and I'll have a look. But yeah, those are at least two things I do want to talk about for certain. Should not celebrate Samhain, aka Halloween, yeah, and All Hallows Eve, or All Saints Day. It goes by many names. It's been, in typical true Catholic fashion, it tried to get Christianized. You can't Christianize Satanism, unfortunately. So I wouldn't recommend it. I think they gave up on the Christianization a long time ago. But yeah, I'm gonna do a Halloween episode for sure. But if you guys do have any concepts you would like me to discuss, shoot the idea across to me in a message or in this chat or in the comments on this video, and I will. I can't promise I'll cover it. I can't cover everything, and I might not necessarily, like I said, be the expert on everything. So I can't always cover all stuff. But if I find it interesting and I may pick it up and make a video. You never know. That whole Siberia one about moving the Camp of the Saints, moving to Siberia, that was at the behest of a comment someone sent me, which I thought was so fascinating. I just had to share it with everybody, So you never know. Give it a go. Paul, since it's Halloween, check out the films Smile and Barbarian. Very related to your subject. That's all I'll say. Yeah, John, I will... I've not watched Smile, but I'm aware of that one. But I've not heard of Barbarian, so I'll look into that. Look forward to hearing your research on the subject. Yeah, it's probably nothing I can say on the Samhain thing other than what's available, online and in books, because the history is pretty well understood. I did have I won't call him a friend, but a fellow student of the arts who I shared studio space with, who was an outspoken Satanist when I was in university. He was always just off his mind on psychedelics all the time. And he was just so blatantly, outspokenly satanic, it was ridiculous. His whole artwork was dedicated to making sigils and to doing Crowleyan mysticism, and it was pretty cringe, to be honest. But he would do rituals during Samhain, and he would call upon Hecate, the goddess of chaos and the underworld, and these weird rituals he would call performative art pieces. It was really weird, and it was a sight to behold, to be honest. And then in the weird, I don't know what it is, all right, but I just naturally attract weirdos. Like, the strangest people are just naturally drawn to me. And I think he saw a friend in me. And he just liked hanging around with me. Because I wasn't, at the time, I wasn't very judgmental. And I was open to things. And, I was a weed-smoking, psychedelic-taking person myself. So maybe he saw some kind of, kinship in my presence. I don't know, but... yeah, I don't know. That was one of the strangest acquaintances I've ever had, is all I'll say. But I learned a lot about occult practice through him, and how they operate. I didn't dig it myself. I wasn't into it. Like I said, he was just an absolute weirdo. One of the strangest people I've ever had the misfortune to latch onto me in some weird friendship style thing that wasn't requainted, I wasn't giving it back, but it didn't matter to I don't know. But yeah, maybe I'll give a bit of a story in the video when I'm talking about Halloween. It's something extra there, but this is something I remember. Liberty or Death. I said I sent a few emails with pictures from National Geographic with clowns from 1931 in travelling circuses. It would be interesting to cover how massive these used to be. Yeah, the circus is a big deal. I have a whole chapter dedicated to it in my book. But yeah, thanks for the images. That actually probably will come in handy. I'll check them out afterwards. This is why I like cafeteria Catholicism. I can enjoy Halloween without worshipping Satan or the harvests. Yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't recommend taking part in these events because if anything, they are at least timed with fertility rituals and solstice rituals, and I think Samhain is supposed to be the beginning of the dark season, and all this sort of stuff. People say the spiritual realm is at its thinnest, the veil is at its thinnest during Samhain, and it's when you can communicate and interact with the spirit realm more easily on that date and all this sort of stuff, which is why it's a high witch, high priestess, holy day, for the occult. A lot of sacrifices get made during that time as well, and as a Christian, we should avoid it, really, and I know it's been turned into something for the kids, but I suppose there is something to be said for the fact that, these things don't have any authority over us as saved Christians. If we want to just take our kids to eat a bit of candy, there's nothing inherently evil about that, as long as you understand that you're not giving energy towards the beast, the monster in a way. But again, it's a slippery slope, so I don't want to encourage it. But but at the same time, we don't want to live. We shouldn't live in fear of these weak religions and their defeated gods. Yeah. Look into the origin of bobbing for apples. Very gruesome. A man who was an ex-warlock named Ramirez John did a video about it. I remember that, the John Ramirez video. It's been a while since I've seen that. I have to watch that again. Thanks for reminding me there, Kanga. Can't wait for the book, bro. Thanks. Yeah. Again, I'm only halfway through. I'm on chapter 15, and I've planned about 30 chapters, but that's always kind of changing and molding as the book gets written. I'm predicting I'll have a finished book by July next year. That gives me, I don't know, 8 months to write it or something like that. I think it's about right. In terms of timing, it's taken me about 6 months to get this far, so it should take me another 6 months to get the rest done and then do a bit of editing. And then I'll be looking for publishers, so hopefully it should be out and for sale at the back end of next year, if the publishers pick it up quick enough. We'll see who does pick it up and who doesn't. If no one does, then I'll self-publish. If a publisher wants to pick it up after that, they can, but first editions, self-published, will be available on Amazon through that means when I can do it. But again, let's just focus on getting the book fully written first. But it's a hell of a process. And obviously, thanks to everybody who's shown a lot of support on the GoFundMe for that so far. I greatly appreciate it. I can relate, a strange magnet. Yeah. It just happens to some people. It's not just him. My entire life, any social group I end up being a part of, or a highly socialized environment, be it a school, a college, a workplace, or wherever it is, it's always the strange ones that end up latching on to me. You know what I mean? And it's not like I become one of the weirdos no one wants to talk to. I get on with everybody, and I'm up there as a respected individual usually, and because no one really knows what I'm into. I don't share that in my private life, but even then, I'm the one I'm kind of like the link to the strange people no one else wants to talk to. I don't mind talking to them. I'll give them a chance, and that's the thing. They always end up like latching on. More on the little season. I'll say I'll give my opinion on the little season here and there, but I don't really know what more I could say that other YouTubers haven't said. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great work on that, to be honest. The actor that played Pennywise is in Barbarian. In it, its final form is a giant clown. Another form is being of lights. Yes, the dead lights. I understand, John. Yeah, yeah. Have a friend who studies Crowley. It's interesting to learn about the thoughts and practices. Honestly, Crowleyan mysticism is just a joke. It's disgusting as well. Absolutely disgusting. Churches celebrating Halloween just makes Satan very happy. Absolutely, yeah. Boycott Halloween. What kind of Halloween for you all participate in? I just dressed up and got candy. I definitely missed what was going on in the bushes. Says to not follow the ways of the world. Do not do it. He says to his people. Yeah. It's not good to have your children involved in holidays that evoke demons. That's true. Not sure if you've discussed this, but there's a video where the guy's teen son, Christian family, speaks to AI. Yeah, I've seen that one, yeah. And the AI basically admits that he is a Nephilim. Yeah. You're making remarkable progress, Paul, and I'm going to get you on Joe Rogan's podcast. Well, that would be the ultimate goal, wouldn't it, to talk with Joe Rogan about the clowns. We'll see about that. Those chatbots are messed up. They keep lying to everyone, and that journalist who is told to leave his wife never left him. The AI chatbots are scary. They're very scary things. And what ChatGPT is capable of is also extremely scary, to be honest. It's because you're evidently a genuine nice guy. I think so. I think that it's not always good being a nice guy, especially not in this world. People try and take advantage when you're a nice guy, quite a lot. And I'm quite thick-skinned, really, as much as I know, but it gets to me sometimes when people start taking the piss. The problem is, like, as much as I am a nice guy, when I snap, it's vicious. That's all I'll say. And I am a human being. I have my breaking point. But it's been a very long time since I've snapped. We're talking pre-saved days. I think it would take a lot to push me over the edge now. Right, guys, it's like it's starting to really rain extremely heavily, so if you can hear that, I am sorry. That'll be the rain banging on the window. I'll try and get it further away. But yeah, I don't think I'll be on with Joe Rogan any time soon. But yeah, we'll see. that's Kanga's vow to me. I'm interested to find out. But yeah, that noise is rain, guys. Like I said, I'm in my car, and it's just started to heavily come down all of a sudden out of nowhere. Not so sure John Ramirez is legit. Lots of contradictions and sketchy New Age undercurrents. He's made a lot of money with talks, and he admitted he and the cult infiltrated Christian circles. That's true. That's true. A discussion on Stephen King's work would be fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on Stephen King's work, but I've read a few of his books growing up. I knew a thing or two about it. I did start the Dark Tower series as well. I read it. I've read The Shining. I've read a bunch of short stories by him as well. I've read Pet Sematary. There's quite a few, I know a thing or two about it, but I've talked to people who know a lot more than me. Paul and Joe Rogan would be epic. That would be insane. You're one step closer after the tinfoil hat. It will happen. Yeah, I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I'm going to grow my profile. I'm going to write the book. maybe when the book's out, that'll probably be more of doing a higher podcast circuit thing. But I'm talking to some big people lately. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, Tinfoil Hat was cool. That definitely gave me a lot of traction. If I just check my calendar, I'll tell you who I'll be talking to soon. You might know some of them. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. So who have I got? I'm getting a heart monitor fitted on the 30th. Never mind that. Right, so I'm on the Fact Hunter podcast on the 1st. If I don't know if you guys have heard of him before, the Fact Hunter. I think he also does a Flat Earth one, if I'm not sure, but the Fact Hunter is quite a big one. And someone helped me arrange that with George Hobbs, I think he's called. The guy who does the podcast for the Fact Hunter, so that should be cool. He's quite a huge channel. And then on the 6th, I'm with Inquiries of Reality podcast. I think they're a relatively decent sized one as well. And then I'm on with Camp Herman podcast on the 8th. I'm interviewing a musician who had a bit of a stint in the industry. She's going to tell us her story on the 9th. That'll be live, so that should be quite fun. What else have I got here? At the back end of the month on the 24th, I'll be speaking with Strange O'Clock podcast. Nice lady. She reached out to me on Facebook and we've arranged that. That should be cool. But yeah, I've got a few podcasts coming up and I'm just currently arranging... I haven't put it in my calendar, actually. I've just reminded myself. But on the 25th of this month, I am going to be talking with, if I can just find the emails. Who am I talking with? I'll be talking with Amy, who is the runner of Eyes on the Right podcast 4.0. She's got something like 100,000 followers on Instagram as well, so that should be good. All Christian conspiracy podcasts, I think. And I believe I'm also reaching out to the Confessionals podcast. If I can find that as well. Is this the one? That's the Fact Hunter, yep. I'm talking with the Amish Inquisition as well this Sunday. That's another one. So it's non-stop, really. It's just podcast after podcast. Let me know if you guys know of any of these people. So yeah, the Amish Inquisition. I'm trying to find where I talked with them. Maybe he hasn't got back in touch with me yet, I'm not sure. But yeah, the guy who runs the Confessionals podcast, Conspiracy Pilled, PJ at Conspiracy Pilled, sent me his email. And I have sent him one, and I'm still waiting to hear back from that. Is that in my sent? Let me check my sent messages to see if I'm still waiting for a response from that. Yeah, I'm still waiting for a response from him, but apparently the guy's reached out and says he wants to talk with me. So let's see if that comes through as well. Right. Yeah, but podcasts are just coming in thick and heavy. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing the circuit. I'm not going to lie. It's good fun. It's good fun to speak with all these people and share the ideas. I'm looking forward to speaking with the Amish guys on this Sunday, today. Actually, later this evening. It's past midnight for me now. So I'll be talking to those guys later on. So that should be quite fun. I'll ask them if I can stream that one live, though I'm not sure. You should post a calendar under community showing the dates of your podcasts. Yeah, well, the thing is, those podcasts don't necessarily get released straight away. They're all pre-recorded, and then it's up to them when they want to release them. So I'll just announce whenever podcasts get released on my community tab, I think. But yeah, I get pretty booked. Well, I won't say I'm fully booked up, but I've got a pretty busy month coming ahead. Absolutely. Right, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. It's been good talking. I don't think there's much else I can really add. In terms of like truth or tips, I'm suppose I'm running out for my series of truth or tips. I know that's in the title of this video. But if you guys have any advice you would like people to know about trying to deal with all this stuff, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you've picked up a bit of advice you'd like people to know about how to deal with learning the truth. A bit of a hint though, try and keep it as accessible to all as possible. Don't make it hyper-focused on the Christian angle or something like that, though I know that's important. Try and keep it more open-ended in terms of general advice, about how to cope with stuff or ways of dealing with telling your family these things, let's say, or things like that. I understand it's good advice to get right with Jesus. That's obviously good advice for truthers, I admit. But that's not what I'm looking for with the series, if you get what I mean. And that goes without saying in my eyes. I'm talking about the more detailed stuff. So let me know if you've got any advice that you think other people might want to hear. I'm always interested to hear what other people say on this one. But I am working on another video. I did do another tips for truth video, like episode 17 or something, or 18. But I never uploaded it, and I haven't done it yet because I feel like I could say it again better. What was the subject now? It's like a weird one. Nope, it's gone. But again, I am working on another tip for truth video right now, and I will be releasing one of the old ones I recorded 3 months ago soon. Just as like a filler. What did I call that one that I'm going to release soon? The next one to be released publicly is the last one I did was Sheeple are People. I think was the last one I actually released for you guys, wasn't it? Yeah, Sheeple are still people. I think it's number 10. There's a difference between conspiratainment and truth. I think that's the next episode. Or is it? No, it's Conspiracy Fads Come and Go is my next Tips for Truthers video that's going to come out. Conspiracy Fads Come and Go. It's about how topics just pop up and disappear quite quickly in the truther community. And it can get very current thingy quite quickly. You've got to be careful with that. Right, guys. But yeah, I'm going to get going. It's been a good talk. I've enjoyed it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being in the chat, guys. I appreciate it. It's been a nice active one today. We've had quite a few people in this one, which is nice. We had about 60 people with us at one point. At its peak, I think. What do we have at its peak? It's at the peak. 67 people at its peak. That's good going just for a random live. I like that. But yeah, guys, I'm going to get going now. Take it easy. And as always, God bless.